Susan, would you do roll call?
Sure. Cheryl.
Here.
Jay.
Here.
Heather.
Here.
And I'm here, and Jan.
Here.
And Berna is absent
With notice.
with notice.
Okay, unless there's any concerns, the agenda is approved. Call to audience, I guess that's that. I'm sure you have all reviewed the budget, so we will have our secretary please read the resolution.
Okay. Everybody got their coffee? At a public hearing of the Board of Trustees of Brandon Township Public Library, County of Oakland, and State of Michigan held in the community room at the library on the 22nd day of August 2023 at 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The following preamble of the present trustees are Jay and Cheryl, Heather, Jan, myself, and absent is Berna Cole. The following preamble and resolutions were offered in resolution, whereas in accordance with the truth of the Budget Act, there has been presented to the Board of Trustees of Brandon Township Public Library, the proposed budget for fiscal year 2024, and whereas the public hearing on the budget has been held in accordance with the provisions of Act 43 of 1963 as amended after notice of a hearing was duly given, and whereas the notice of hearing on the budget included the following statement printed on 11-point boldface type. The property tax mill rate proposed to be levied to support the proposed budget was the subject of this hearing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that 1. The library hereby approves and adopts the proposed budget for fiscal year 2024 on file with the Secretary of the Board for the purpose of providing library services to the residents of the township. Number 2, the library hereby ratifies and confirms the action of the library director in completing the notice of hearing and in arranging for public, therefore, of Ortonville, Michigan. The notice of the hearing in the form published in the Citizen is hereby ratified and confirmed. Number 3, the library board hereby approves and adopts the proposed tax levy for fiscal year 2024 on file with the Secretary of the Board, and hereby determines that 1.8852 mills shall be levied in the Brandon Township Public Library District for fiscal year 2024 for the purpose of providing library funds for the operation of the library. Number 4, the Secretary of the Library Board is authorized and directed to submit this resolution and the tax rate request form L4029 to the Supervisor of Brandon Charter Township, the County of Oakland, the Clerk of Brandon Charter Township, the County of Oakland, and to the County Equalization Department of the County of Oakland. Number 5, all resolution and parts of resolutions insofar that as they conflict with the provision of this resolution are and the same hereby rescinded.
Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We need to take a voice.
Voice vote?
Do we? Okay. Cheryl?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jan? Yes. Okay. Resolution declared and adopted. And she doesn't have to read that last part,
No.
does she?
No.
Okay, that's it. So,
There is just a typo correction
yes,
before it's signed.
we saw that, yeah.
It's on the second line where it says 22nd day, there's 2 E's in, or there's no space in there.
Right. So that was motion by Cheryl and supported by Heather. Okay, thank you. All right. And a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. We don't have to second.
Yeah.
Okay, we are done until 5 o'clock.
I have entertainment for 10 minutes.
5 o'clock, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Kathleen, could we have the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would you like me to do roll call, Susan? Okay. Ready. Cheryl?
Here.
Jay?
Here.
Heather? Yep. Susan?
Here.
Jan here, and Bruna is absent with notice. Okay, any additions to the agenda? If not, it stands approved.
Yep, the focus.
But that's
one
not an
question.
addition to the agenda. That's just that's on the agenda, it's just an addendum to the report, correct?
No, it should be 12.2 on the agenda. So yeah, and that is an action item.
Okay, so what are we changing? We're changing 12.2?
Yes.
To what?
12.2 is the strategic plan focus areas, and that does need to be voted on.
Okay.
And then the other ones just get changed numbers?
12.3
Yes.
Okay.
and 12.4?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, and that's an action. Okay.
I had a couple other questions. Whether certain things are action items. Under policies, we have public computer and Wi-Fi policy. Is that an action item?
Where are you?
9.3.
That is not an action item. I mentioned it in the Friday update that we're going to bring it to the board so that you can discuss it and before we take it to the
Okay.
attorney. So we can make changes ahead of time.
Yes.
And then under 9.8, finance, the fund balance and budget update, are either of those action items?
Fund balance, if we want to do that tonight,
I think it should be, yeah.
To approve it.
I would recommend we make that action.
Okay.
9.8.1.
Okay.
Good catch.
Okay, budget update is not an action item.
No.
Okay. Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. No vote if they're not corrected. Any concerns with the minutes? Okay, minutes stand approved. Call to audience.
Hi, could we do introduction?
Sure.
I'm Taylor. Sonia. Yes.
Taylor is from our circulation department and works in adult services as well, and I'm in public services.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
We have our names out front.
That's a nice name.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. Okay, director's report.
Well, we have a written report. I already talked about the IR in the box. So that's a new exciting addition to our collection. Another thing worth noting, I finished my financial management classes. That was a lot of work, but it was very worthwhile.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The audit was sent out to 6 accounting firms, I've heard back from 4 with questions. So off to a good start. There's only one I haven't heard anything back from at all. So, and that's it. Unless anyone has questions for me.
No question, but just a comment. The summer reading program, I thought it was very, very successful and very impressive.
Do you know well, I guess I should be asking Alyssa, but do you know, have they picked the winners yet?
Yes,
They did?
they've all been called.
Oh, darn.
My kids are the same.
Yeah, I had a call today from a granddaughter. Have they picked the winners? I said, no. Okay. Thank you, Laura. Do you want to talk about this, the door count?
Just that, and I apologize, on the left-hand side, it should have the Monday, Tuesday through Saturday. So our busiest days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday, for sure. Numbers are continuing to go up. It's getting busier.
Good.
So it is good. And people are staying. You know, you can see the patrons exiting at 7 o'clock. There's a lot of people in the building right up until we close. So.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Laura?
Yeah, given this information, are the hours that we currently have at the library appropriate, or do they need to be looked at?
It was mentioned in the strategic plan. I think that might become part of our strategic plan to look at that and make sure that we are offering what patrons are looking for. So that is something we're going to need to look at.
Thank you.
Cheryl? Anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Heather? Susan?
I'm good.
The librarian position. Do you want to mention
yeah.
that?
Sure. We
Okay.
do have an open librarian position. Like I said in my report, we do have somebody going on leave in the end of October. So my plan is to promote our part-time person into a full-time position starting November 1st to cover, because then if we didn't, we'd be down 2 full-time positions. And as far as scheduling goes, and as busy as we're getting, I just don't think that's a good idea. So
Okay.
I would like to promote her into full-time starting November 1st.
And you bring that back to us and we take a vote, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll vote in.
It's not a new position.
Oh.
It's
But-
just filling
that's
an
true.
empty vacancy.
But we were told earlier in a board meeting that it was not going to be filled, so.
It wasn't going to be filled immediately. When the last person left, I wasn't going to fill it immediately and see if we could work it out.
Right.
That was that was before we were full programming, full numbers, so there's a need at this point to fill that position. Mm-hmm.
I think we should still vote on that. So.
Yeah, could you bring it formally next month and we'll vote on it? Action item.
Sure.
Okay.
And I have a question on that then. Then are you going to fill the part-time position?
Not right now.
Okay.
Not right now. If we have the full-time position filled, we're going to try to work out the hours. It's kind of a wait and see how it all shakes out after that full-time position is filled.
How many hours was she working as part-time?
29,
Okay.
so she's going to 40.
Okay.
So that's 11 hours more.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, so next month we'll have that as a quick action item.
Okay.
Okay,
And
thank you.
that's all covered in our budget, right? That's not going
Yeah.
to change any of that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jay, Finance Officer.
I'd like to call everyone's attention, page 10 and 11, the check register for, as of July 31st. Anyone have any questions on that? There's nothing jumps out as being different or unusual other than maybe the VAT inspection, but we've talked about that.
I just have a quick question. Why, typically we just, our final number is either just our interest or if we're waiting on a payroll. So this is an odd number. Was something going on there, Kathleen?
That was, trying to shorten this story. On one of the check registers, we had to cancel a check. And to do that, I write on the check register before you guys sign it, you show, you've seen that I did that. Well, when I took it over to the township and I told them about it, they're like, yep, we're good. Well, she transferred the wrong number, and that was in a June check
Okay.
register, so then in July, when she fixed it, that's why it looks like that. this
Okay.
time.
All right, thank you.
Okay, our balance sheet starts on page 12, the income statements starts on page 13. Didn't really have any comments other than on page 13, we've talked about this previously in the group 07, the interest that's been, significantly increased this year with the new investment policy. Page 15, we've got the large expenses for the HVAC and the group 19, account number 826. Want to see if anyone had any questions about either of those financial statements.
I'll just make a comment just to bring your attention to, if you look at the balance sheet near the bottom where it says equity, you see we no longer have committed funds because we have used all of those. So we'll be talking about that in the fund balance this evening. Sorry.
Thank you.
Just thought we should see that.
Okay, if there are no questions, I'll ask the board to approve the expenses for July. It's on page 16, in the amount of $77,336.56.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, this is money, so Cheryl,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
and Jan, yes. Motion passes.
And then lastly, we have the budget amendments on page 17. And you'll see at the bottom there, the last two lines, waiting for board approval. And that's moving money into, there was an ALA grant. Is that correct, Laura? And that's been set aside, put into community relations budget for partial payment of doors we plan to purchase.
Okay, could I have a motion?
Can I ask a question first?
Oh, sure.
We had to have like public comment or something on that. What did we do about that?
Do you want to talk about that, Sean?
Yes, for this grant, there is a reporting period that we have to do in November, in which we need to have a community comment requesting information about what they would like to see for those rooms. And we're hoping to have that done between now and November. So that report would be then submitted to the grant people.
Okay.
Is that going to be put out in Citizen to alert the public to be here?
So we have to do it in the targeted audience that we talked about in the grant, and that is the group of people that we targeted: senior citizen, the senior center, and special needs.
Okay.
So we will be doing something, but it has to target specifically those groups of people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any comments, questions?
Move
Okay.
to approve.
Second? All right. Again, this is a money item, so Cheryl,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Jan, yes. Passes, motion passes. Okay, did you do your report now, Jay? Or is that later?
Later.
Okay. Okay, committee reports. Ad hoc trustee recruitment. Laura, I'm going to let you talk on that for a second. The idea was presented last month, and I believe that was by Jay, about an open house. So do you want to talk on that?
Sure. Well, I just wondered if and when you'd like to do it, so we can get it on the calendar. They're already starting to schedule our winter programming, so if there's a certain day or time that you would like, I'd like to get it in the calendar as soon as possible.
You had talked about after hours,
it-
right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that would be great, I think. Then you could get like a private tour and questions, and so I'm just wondering if you have any idea when you would like to do it, because April, they have to have their things in by April, so do you want
Perhaps
March?
February in an evening where, people that are working could attend.
Jan is out of town February.
I don't know for sure, but early February we could do it.
Early February
I
or
wanna
early
be
March.
I do want to be here.
We could do early March if they're not due till, I don't want to do it too early, then people will forget.
Okay.
So
So
March
maybe
would be
early
fine.
March.
Early
Maybe
March.
early March would be good.
What's the?
Because the apps aren't due till, I
End of
think,
April?
April.
I know it's
Usually,
April sometimes,
I'd say
usually
mid-April.
Yeah, something like that, so that would be
Okay,
a
I
good
think when we
5-6
did it was
weeks.
second week of April sometime.
Yeah.
okay.
Sounds about right.
So I can get a couple dates together and email and see what works for
And if
everybody.
it's after hours, when are we talking?
I would suggest a Friday evening, because we close at 5. Otherwise, it would have to be at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. So Friday after 5 would probably be the best time, if you want to do it after hours.
That'd be March 15th then, or March 8th,
Or March 1st?
or March 1st. It's very early March, yeah.
What do you think about Friday night?
I think that's going to be tough.
I do too.
People are busy on Friday nights.
Comes family weekend.
It wouldn't have to be after hours. If you wanted to do it on a Wednesday or whatever, we could do like a 6:30 to...
Maybe
If there's
that
not
would be
another
okay.
program
Yeah.
going, it's not, it won't be that busy.
There you go. As long as there's no other programs, let's do it during
Early
the
March.
week. Early March. So that would go into the first week of March, towards the end of the day.
Okay, I will get some dates together then.
And we'll have every board member bring at least one person that's interested to become a candidate.
What do you think about invitations? Sending out invitations to people? I don't know.
I think we
Should-
just need to get it in the Citizen. and-
Yeah, definitely a
Okay.
citizen.
People,
Website,
make sure people know.
And
newsletter.
even put it, yeah, social media.
Mhm.
We can share it
Yeah.
on social media.
I mean, we could do
Friends of the library
personal
can-
invitations to people we know, but
Yeah.
Friends of the library can put it on, if they have a Facebook
Sure.
page or whatever.
It
Okay.
sounds like a good plan.
Okay,
Thank
I will
you.
get some dates together.
Okay. 9.2, ad hoc board bylaws review. Is that you?
Would you like me to speak on that?
Yes, I would.
Page 18. The changes that are being proposed begin on page 20. They're identified in red. The first one on page 20, Article 5, duties of board officers. We added for the president in point C, not only appoint committees, but also appoint committee members and chairs of those committees. So the way it's worded is that the president would get the approval of the board to start a committee, but the president would be free to identify the committee members and the chairs of that committee.
When I was reading through this, my only thought was that that sentence or that statement is redundant. Why put appoint committees and then add and appoint committee members and chairs? Just put appoint committee members and chairs.
Okay, then the board would approve who's on the committee and who's going to be the chair. Okay.
yeah, I agree.
I had thought actually to leave that as appoint committees with the approval of the board, and then you can define that in Article 7, Section 1. Committees, along with committee chairs and members, shall be appointed by the president. That way it's only in one spot rather than having it in both.
Mhm.
That's
Just
doable
another
too.
thought.
That's doable. I like that better even.
Makes it a little
Who's-
less wordy.
Who's taking notes on this?
Because you'll be appointed by, say it one more time.
So in Article 5C, just keep that as appoint committees with approval of the board. And then in Article 7, Section 1, committees, along with committee chairs and members, shall be appointed by the president. So I just added along with committee chairs and members shall be appointed by the president.
But even appointing committees.
Well, that's the duty of the president.
Right,
then-
but I'm appointing the
For-
members anyway.
Correct,
right?
yes. Well, you would be,
But
yes.
it's just- I think
But it
it's
just defines it a little
Okay.
bit better. That's what
Establishment of
we're
the committees.
Okay,
Then you're saying they're different, first we're establishing the committee, then we're establishing the members.
Well, yeah, in Article 7, it defines what all of the committees are about, whatever, and so I thought that that was just a better place to put that because,
Okay.
I mean, it's still the same thing, it's just defining it in a different space is all.
Okay. Sounds good. Jay,
Okay,
you want to keep
also,
going?
page 20, section 2 now, has a part C added under the duty of the vice president to facilitate our annual board and library director evaluation processes.
Great.
Some of these changes are being proposed to eliminate the need for either a standing or ad hoc committee.
Perfect.
Section
Perfect.
4, financial officer, part D, review it originally said just monthly financial statements. That's kind of all it said. And so I changed it to reviewing the financial statements, oversee financial activities, and make a report to the board of each board meeting. I thought it was too narrow as it was written.
I'm actually going to jump in there too, Jay. I think that, sorry, if we take out the oversee financial activities, I think that that is actually better defined under the committee. So if you look at, where are we at, Article 7, Section 2, Finance Committee, instead of overseeing the financial activities, I think that the Finance Committee should review contracts when requested by the director. So it's a little bit different.
So would that be an E?
Because we're all, yes, because we're really all overseeing the financial activities of the library. That's one of our jobs, that's listed later in the bylaws. But with that part, like I say, if we just add that to the finance committee, then it's not just on one person, it's on the full committee.
So the proposal is that section 4 on page 20 just stay as written.
Correct. Well, make a report, leave that change in there, but I would take out the oversee financial activities there.
Okay, and tell me what you're thinking for E again.
Reviews contracts when requested by the director.
What do you think of that? I like it.
We were going to talk about contracts tonight, and so do you want to do that first before you change this, or change this and then kind of eliminate the need to talk about it later, I guess?
No, it kind of, I don't know, it goes together, doesn't it?
I have a question. Typically, a committee is doing things, but then making recommendations to the board. So if you just say it's reviewing contracts, but not recommending to the board, I'm not sure a committee can do that.
Well, it's the finance officer that's making recommendations to the board, right?
No, the whole committee can. If you see all the other ones, it's, recommend fund balance, review and recommend audit, review contracts. So it might say review and recommend contracts to the board or something like that.
Okay.
So you want review and recommend contracts when requested by director. Is that what you're saying?
If the director never requests, then we would never see that.
Well, that's what we need to discuss.
That's part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so we've got a purchasing policy right now. And what it says is that all purchases of goods and services over $5,000.
What page are, you're going?
This is from the.
Oh, good,
yeah.
We're going to
okay.
be talking about this. So all purchases of goods and services over $5,000, comma, or any non-routine purchases without appropriation in the current budget shall be submitted to the library board for approval prior to purchase. That says everything over $5,000, regardless of circumstances. So in this context, we were talking about what should we be doing with this cleaning contract, which is about $38,000. So I guess that's the question. Do we want the board to, as it says here, all purchases have to be approved?
So my question is if it's a maintaining a current situation versus a new situation. I get us coming in front of us when it's $5,000 is a new purchase, but we've always had it, we've always paid a certain we've paid towards a certain service like cleaning.
Right.
And that just seems like it's over managing from
Agreed.
the trustee perspective.
Right. And
I
that's why-
don't agree.
Okay, that's why I was questioning
Yeah.
what the wording that you were proposing, because it says
Because we're just
everything.
maintaining, it's like,
I think
it's already existing, it's already in the budget, it's already going forward.
Right.
We're just maybe changing companies to save money, or we're signing the same
Well,
company
see, I disagree
to
with
have the
that.
same contract.
We have a new contract with a new supplier, and it's over $5,000. To me, that's different than.
Is that up
just-
from, is that up?
Hmm?
Is that up $5,000? Or what is that up? What's that, how's that?
Well,
Well, it's
was it
saving us
before?
money.
Yeah.
It's saving us money. So,
Yeah, no, it's that it's a new vendor, a new supplier. So what are the terms around that? Who is the supplier? Are they somebody reputable, or do we have some input into who's selected for major contracts in the library? But you had some comments as well.
Yeah, I think it's our responsibility. I mean, it's written in state regulation in PA 164 type library that it's our responsibility, and we've chosen $5,000 as the cutoff. So even if we're renewing some type of a contract, it's our responsibility to review that because we are approving the spending of that money. And if we're not reviewing a contract, we're not doing our fiduciary responsibility. I mean, that's what the board is supposed to do.
Well, but don't we really approve that when we approve the budget? Because it's all a budgeted item, correct?
We do, but a contract is something that is being signed, and we're taking liability for that contract, and we need to know what's in that contract before we take on that liability.
So a new contract might be different than,
Well, even a renewed
Something-
contract, how do we know if it's different or not? You know,
well, it'd
when
be up to
you're-
the director to inform us. So she would look at the new contract and the old contract, and if there's a difference, then she needs to bring it in front of the board. I would entrust our director to let us know if anything has changed in our contracts.
Well, we don't sign that many contracts, so I think that we really need to review them.
What,
I mean, it can simply come to us and say, we're renewing this 3-year contract, nothing has changed, the board needs to approve this, and then we approve it. But I think that's really one of our highlighted, spelled out responsibilities as a board.
how many contracts do you renew a year?
We actually came up with a list of about 35.
Ooh,
All over $5,000?
I don't know if they're all over 5,000, but as far as contracts go, we have probably at least 35 a year.
And are they all renewable annually?
Yes.
So are we paying this cleaning company, for example, are we paying them all up front
It's a
for a
monthly.
year? It's a monthly contract.
Mhm.
So when we're looking at a monthly contract, then, are we looking at the more than $5,000 a month then? Or is it, every yearly contract that's more than 5,000 we need to look at?
It depends on what our liability is. If we're only liable for 1 month and we can get out of the contract after 1 month and it's less than 5,000, that's under the director. But if it's an annual contract, even though we're paying it monthly, but we've committed to an annual contract that's over 5,000, then we need to be looking at that.
Okay, here's a for instance, snow removal. Do we approve that every year as a board?
No?
We
Yeah.
could- we should be.
We should be.
we never have. I've been here.
What else?
Lawn mowing, lawn spraying, telephones.
So we should be approving everything?
We should be. If we're committed to over 5,000, I mean, it's in our policy.
It is.
5,000 a year? Because most of them are monthly contracts.
If
Our
we're, but
budget's on a year basis, so.
if it's monthly and that's all we're committed to, like say you pay for the month
Mhm.
and you can say, okay, we don't want your services anymore,
Mhm.
then that's all we're committed to, is that 1 month. And if that's under 5,000, that's fine, as long as it's within our budget, obviously. It's when we're committing to more than 5,000. It's the actual commitment that we're doing.
I guess I would like to have more data.
Or we
Before I
have
made a
to,
decision on any of this, because it's like, if we have 35 contracts to review, we need to set some guidelines. If it's over, I'd
or
like
we
to-
have to then change our policy.
Well, I just like, at this point, out of 35 contracts, give or take, I'd like to know how many is over 5,000 a year. If the contract is, if we are displeased with whatever service and we break that contract because it's not working for our citizens or for the library, is there penalties? Can we break the contract and
Sure.
get somebody else? You know, that kind of information, I'd like to know, what are we locked into and what's the cost?
Exactly.
And if we're locked into it, they might say, well, we're gonna, I don't even know how they can do this, but we're gonna penalize you $1,000. Well, we should know that, you know, I mean, we should have, I mean, I'm not saying the board, I'm saying we as the library should know, and the board should know exactly what if this happens, then what is the cost?
Right, it's our total commitment of what it's going to cost us.
Right. I mean,
What it can conceivably
I just don't
cost us.
foresee us sitting down with 35 contracts. That's 2 or 3 a month.
No, it doesn't sound like that's the case at all.
That's, yeah.
Talking about
What are we really talking about here?
Well, if we're looking at our commitment, our budget is for a year. So if we've got contracts that are over $5,000 that we can't get out of on a monthly basis, then those would come here.
According to our policy right now, we have to look at those.
I don't know what ones that, these.
Do we need a report from Laura to spell this out better? Do we need to vote on this tonight? How do we handle this?
I don't see how we can vote on it, saying, because we don't have the
I don't either.
information that we need.
I need information.
Yeah, I
And
think,
she might look at it and say, you know what, we could reword this purchasing policy, we could,
well, I think we
Make it
need
more
the
clear.
information on, how many contracts they are, and if they are just monthly, or what they are.
Does that sound doable?
As far as the cleaning contract, since that is only monthly, it's only a monthly commitment, it's not even a contract, it's
Agreement?
an agreement.
services agreement.
So is that something we can go ahead with then?
Yeah, if we're only committed, if it
Yeah.
only says we're committed for the month, absolutely, it's within our budget.
We'll for it.
Great.
But we appreciate you sharing it with us anyway.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Okay, we're on page 20. So let's go over to page 20. I have page 21. Oh,
21.
turn over the page.
yeah. Okay, so you were
Where are
talking about, we're on page 21 at the bottom, Article 7, Standing Committees. And I think we agreed that the committees, along with chairs and members, would be appointed by the president. Is everyone okay with that? Okay. Page 22, we have a lot of deletions. We're recommending that we would delete the professional development, friends liaison, student liaison, and advocacy committee, as well as at the bottom, the evaluations committee. Any discussion on those?
I guess I can do that now. Heather has come up with, and since we're not voting on this till next month, correct? It would start actually in then October. We have a sign-up sheet, just as we do for check register, sign-up sheet for Friends, FOL. Okay, and we'll all
Sure.
tell about, if we can. I know
Sure.
you have a problem with it,
Well,
right?
that's, same night as my school board meeting.
Yeah. Okay, so other than that, I have no problem.
Move on to page 23 then at the top, after the items that are crossed out there. This is under policies. So instead of the 3 items listed there, the recommendation is these 3 revised or reworded. The first one is the policies committee would review staff and public policies developed or revised by the library director continuously or on a continuous basis. Ensure the library's attorney has reviewed the information and endorse the submittal of the policy drafts to the board for review and approval. Any questions, concerns, or changes on that?
I have a couple things. First of all, I would just make all of the verbs plural because that's how we've had it
Reviews,
previously.
ensures, endorses?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's just, something little.
Yep.
I have an issue with ensuring that the library's attorney has reviewed, because I kind of think that's just the director's job. That's what she does.
Okay.
I don't think that should be
The
a committee
committee doesn't really have a
responsibility.
connection to
No.
the attorney, it's
Yeah,
just the president.
So the endorsement part would be, you wouldn't endorse it unless it has.
Right, so I think we need to take B
It's a
out.
good suggestion, yeah.
that's a good idea.
I also think we should take off the word continuously in A.
Just reviews.
Yeah,
Oh,
I just
yeah.
don't think it needs to be there.
I crossed it out too, yeah.
Okay.
It's just wordy.
Yeah.
All righty, moving on to page 24, near the bottom. Under Article 10, Library Director, Section 7, I had the word library before director because that was to make it similar to the other 6 sections. And then added Section 8, Library Director shall maintain a calendar of topics and periodic reports to be covered at future board meetings and maintain sign-up sheets for certain trustee duties, which may include monthly check register, timesheet sign-off, and Friends of the Library meeting attendance. Kind of long and windy, but this was to take care of
Is that
the
the director or
committees.
my job?
Well, that's my suggestion. I think we
Think
could
that's
leave in, the library director shall maintain a calendar of topics and periodic reports to be covered
Mhm.
at future board meetings, but the rest of that, I think we could move that to the secretary duties,
I
which is
agree.
Article
Okay.
5, Section 3, because
Yeah.
Laura's got enough to worry about, and I think
No, I
that
agree, that's important.
that could easily be moved over to secretary duties.
Kind of give me something to do.
Madam
Somebody's
President,
got
I think
that written
that concludes
Oh,
that
good.
section.
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Oh, we can't,
before we
I'm
vote.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
right, it
not an
has to be
action.
next time.
We can't do it,
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay, but I know this was a lot of work, so I want to thank the committee, Jay and Susan, for working on this.
Yeah, good job.
More than Jay.
That's why you're taking it
I
from
was
here.
like, want to get together? And he just did it.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
can make the amendment, I can make the changes and I'll send them your way if you want,
Okay, thanks.
if it helps.
It does.
Okay, policies, Laura.
Okay, the technology equipment use policy is back in the packet this month. I did make the changes that were suggested with giving the definitions for take-home equipment and library equipment. And then I also expanded on the unattended equipment. And then I also added the borrower agreement, what was requested as far as illegal data coming back on the computer, if that happens.
Times have changed, haven't they?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure. But this, after talking to Sarah about how this is going, she's very happy with how it's going with the change. She would like to keep it. Circulation would like to keep the policy with the 10 days and review it in a year. Or change it.
We need to get through some seasons with this.
We do.
Yeah.
More than just a couple weeks.
I just wanted to make a comment. On page 29, under the disclaimer, I was struggling with the phraseology of constitutionally protected materials, but I think that means anything other than pornography.
Yeah.
But I am, as I read on there, I'm very pleased that about the third sentence down, it says, juvenile patrons under 18 years old, parental consent. It's so important to have,
Are you on the?
29.
Page
right
29.
here. It's not a red spot.
no, it's not a red spot, but I just wanted to
Oh,
make a
that's
comment.
different.
You're under a
That's
different
a different
policy.
Oh, that's a different policy?
Yeah, jumping ahead.
Yeah, that's public computer and Wi-Fi use.
Oh,
Oh,
Because
I'm
that's
so
different.
sorry.
I did that
Hold on to that for a
That's not-
second, Jay.
Sorry.
He's getting ahead.
Okay, I'm back on the technology policy.
Okay.
Page?
Page 26. I'm kind of confused. In the very first sentence, we refer to the rules of use. And then when you drop down, you've changed it to regulations. So you're referring to something that we don't then define. So according to the following regulations, or
Yeah.
do we want to use?
Yeah. Take out rules of use.
Yeah.
and put
Okay.
regulations there.
I changed it to regulations because that's the term we use in all of our other policies. I
Okay,
just
yeah,
wanted
that's
to keep
fine.
it
I just
consistent.
wanted it to, so that we're
Good catch,
referring.
Cheryl.
Mhm.
I didn't
Okay.
catch that.
That was all I had.
It tells you to look at the red sometimes.
Mhm. Miss all of this.
Motion to approve the technology equipment use policy as amended.
Second?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Now, Jay.
Okay, public computer and Wi-Fi
The public
policy.
computer and Wi-Fi policy, just a note, I already noticed I need to work on, I missed an indentation on the first page, but this is the combination of the library internet use policy that's in here and the Wi-Fi policy. They were both really repetitive. They both said the same thing, so we combined it into one computer and Wi-Fi use policy.
Did you make any major changes at all?
Well, I have the originals in here that you can look at, not a lot of major change. Like I said, a lot of it was just, it said the same thing on this one as it said on this one. And
Okay.
so we just combined them together.
Okay, so the one that has an approved date of 2017 is the old one, page 3.
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah,
I was confused, yeah.
yeah, okay.
So we combined them and formatted them without a bunch of bullet points. And then, like I said, there's some indentations missing, but other than that.
So page 29 and 30 are the new, that's the new proposed one, correct?
My numbers are off on.
And 31
Yes.
and 32 are the old ones?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was confused about that. I'd like to make a comment.
Mhm.
I guess maybe I didn't understand which was the old and the new. I don't see in the new, if you go on page 31, if you go down to bullet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or no, bullet 5. The library has created home pages for children and teens, provide content and links to other websites, and contain age-appropriate information. I don't see that terminology in the new policy.
Because we don't have those. We don't have those pages on
But
our
shouldn't
website.
access be based age-appropriate access to materials? Because the way it reads now is that everybody has access to everything.
Yep.
Well, the library
It's
upholds and
filtered.
affirms the right of each individual
Mhm.
to have access.
But then it goes on to the unfiltered access.
The library offers filtered internet access.
And then it says juvenile patrons under 18 are required to obtain parental consent for unfiltered.
So where's the line drawn for kind of filtered and unfiltered? Maybe I'm just not familiar with that.
Do you want to talk about that?
So all of our filtering options are based on CIPA compliancy, so it means everything that's federally blacklisted, such as pornography, gun violence, certain drug stuff, is automatically filtered out of all of our computers, our Wi-Fi, everything that goes through this building, internet-wise, is filtered. And,
So even adults
correct,
don't have the right to that, okay.
yeah.
And then what about juveniles?
Everybody, like, so.
No, excluding that. So there's all this stuff that's not filtered.
Adult content for
Do
juveniles.
juveniles have access to all of that?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well,
Okay.
it says in here, juvenile patrons under 18 are required to have parental consent for unfiltered access. Is there filtered access that they can get?
That's all we can get.
Everything's filtered, nothing's unfiltered.
But you said,
So my child would have the same right to the same information that I can get?
Correct.
Then this doesn't make sense.
yeah,
It's a big change.
Unfiltered is a whole different thing. So there's a button on, it's a program called Envisionware. There's a button on Envisionware where we can turn those filters off. People have the right to have it unfiltered.
Even if it's federally blocked, like you were saying, like there's certain content the federal government says has to be filtered out?
That's a recommendation of, like, they say, these are the things you should filter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we have to, but it can be turned off, is what you're saying.
Right.
And if we turn it off, then for minor, we have to have parental consent.
Well,
So a person over 18, if we turn off the filters, can conceivably be on pornographic sites? Okay.
But that is against our patron policy, patron behavior policy. So if they are, we can ask them, and that's in here, we can ask them to change their screen. If they get a second warning, we can ask them to.
Okay, so go back to my original point on page 31, the fifth bullet, where we use the reference to age-appropriate content. That's no longer appearing in the new policy.
Yeah, back when I first started here, we used to have a link that had children's content that was mainly geared actually towards parents and young games like ABC Mouse and such. It would be just something that could easily gain kids' attention. Same thing with teens, we would put homework help and student help underneath these specific tabs. When I went through and did a website analysis, they never got clicked on, mostly because parents aren't having their kids use a library website to go get their stuff, essentially. Most people they'll Google what it is that they need before they'll go to the library and then move forward with things. But that doesn't, I mean, we still have access to providing that information through our staff members. So our staff are trained to provide links and resources that are available to children and teens.
Yeah, I'd like to learn more about that. I don't believe in censorship, but I believe that there's certain materials children probably shouldn't have access to unless their parent. And the old policy did say that. The new one doesn't seem to say that. And my concern is that I've seen, graphic novels and other things that depict sex acts, unnatural sex acts, and other kinds of things that young children, in my opinion, should have parental consent to be able to view that kind of thing. And from what I'm reading this, I don't see that being addressed.
Well, it does say the library affirms the right and responsibility of parents and legal guardians to determine and to monitor their children's use of library
Right,
materials.
but
and
how do
resources.
you electronically restrict it unless the parent gives approval?
We don't,
Yes, that's right. That's
and
right.
and we can't. And
Well-
we can't. That's up to the parents. It's the same as if a child comes in and chooses a book. If a child comes in and chooses a website, that's up to the parents to monitor that, not us.
Then I have another question. What about, and I haven't been in there for a while to look around, do we still have the computers in the young kids section?
Yeah, there's two.
And those are, a child could go in there and get access to anything? It's not restricted? It used to be that it was just children's stuff on there.
They're filtered.
No, but I mean, it used to just have children's stuff on there. Just like we have age-appropriate books in that area, but we don't have age-appropriate computers then.
They have the same screens that the adults have.
Is there a
Same
way to
filtering.
have age-appropriate computer access like we have age-appropriate books? I mean, it's a whole separate section, and I think people kind of expect some kind of restriction in there. If they set a child down in front of the computer, I mean, when my grandkids were little and I would bring them in, I knew all they could access were some kids' things on there.
So actually, they do have, it's a little complicated in how it's set up, but we have icons that show pictures of the kids' games that they can have access to. And so, I don't know all the kids' games names, but I know ABC Mouse is one. And so we have a picture of a little mouse, and that is one of the icons that's on the desktop of the computer. So the idea is that if you have all these little icons with all the games, the kids are more geared towards clicking on a game icon than they are saying, oh, let me grab onto Chrome and then go into Chrome and do a search of something.
Is there, sorry,
No? Go ahead. Continue.
is there any way to change that? So that they only have access to certain things?
That's where we're getting into like censorship.
For children.
Yeah.
But we're censoring the age appropriateness of the books that are in that section of the library.
But we don't restrict the kids from coming into the adult section.
No, I'm just
If they wanted
thinking,
to
you know,
come.
like when I was an adult bringing grandchildren in, I knew those were safe computers where, you know, the kids could sit in front of there and I didn't have to sit with them to figure out what they were doing. And kids are so much more savvy than they were then, you know, 15 years ago or
Would those
whatever.
computers have access to Hoopla and other online books? No restrictions on those.
Okay.
Well, I thought the old policy, at least in that area, was well written.
It makes me think.
This is not a policy we are, this is not an action item tonight.
Okay,
It's still to be worked on.
all right, well,
Any other comments, questions? Heather?
I mean, others on the board may have other views, and I guess it's important that we know what those are. Maybe I'm the only one, or maybe there's others that, in terms of young children, that sometimes they're exposed to things, particularly pictures of things that they don't know how to understand. They don't know how to deal with it. And as a library, you don't lay those on the shelf, obviously. And then from a computer standpoint,
So the two computers used to be censored, right? The two computers in the children's room?
They've always, every computer in this building, every access to your cell phone is filtered.
Okay.
It's filtered for explicit content.
Uh-huh.
There's been no censorship
Oh,
of,
I guess it's the terminology.
A maturity
that we're
level.
Trying to
Correct.
figure out here then.
so filtering is different than censorship. So
which is different
filtering-
than restriction. I was talking about age-appropriate restriction, not censorship. I don't believe that anything should be censored.
And that's where I guess I'm getting confused with all the vocabulary too.
Yeah, we are too.
Because from a computer standpoint, like all the security protocols and certain things that Mike has to go through, and like the desktop in the youth area are different than the desktops in the adult, as well as the ones in teen, and he has to customize that specifically. But we went from 4 computers in the youth area down to 2 because there's less usage. Our families have shown that they're not interested in coming into the library to be on the computer. They're here to play with the games, read books, be with their families and do programming, not come in and use the actual devices too. So that is a change in the landscape of our particular technology here in Brandon.
I think families come here to get away from screen time. And I think I've seen those computers, in the time I've been here, I think I've seen those computers used twice. They just don't get used anymore. People want to get away from, they want their kids away from the screens and they come to the library. So that,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
So this will come back next month then?
Right.
And we'll look at this again. Will we have just the new one, I assume, when we look at it next month? And are we bringing this into policy committee then? for this one too, or?
well, we already did this one in policy committee.
Yeah.
Bring it back?
We could,
Okay.
since there's some new questions.
Okay.
It's not a bad idea.
And Jay, just so you know, I do agree, I agree with you. He's covered it very well.
People have different views.
He covered it very well. I was one of those moms who was split between the adult and the children because my oldest child was an adult reader at age 10, and he was bored by the children's area. So I was in there, but then my younger ones were in there, so I was like, I was entrusting that when my young ones were in there, that they couldn't see any content, that they shouldn't be seeing as a mom. All moms are different. Then I could focus in on my oldest being in the adult area, making sure he wasn't grabbing adult books that I didn't want him to grab. But that technology is different. I wish we could take, I don't want to nail Google Chrome, but just any search engine like that, and if we could put it on that if a child clicks on that they need a library card to search. So then it defaults, I don't know if we can do that.
Technically possible.
Well, they have to log in with the library card to use the.
To use it, yeah.
Yeah.
And well, the hard part with, getting rid of Google Chrome, our school system is integrated with Google
With that.
Chrome. All of their schoolwork is through
It is.
that
It is, yep.
browser.
Yeah.
So even that is a little, they can't do their homework, they can't do any of their schoolwork. That would be a little detrimental.
I wouldn't say get rid of it, I just thought if the parent had to sign them in on it, then now they're accepting that responsibility, not the library.
Or is there a way if, a child is signing in with their library card, is there a way to restrict
They can't.
that? I mean, I don't know.
I asked that once before, that's not.
Yeah. I don't know if that's even possible.
They used to have levels on Envisionware. There were different levels, but they don't have them.
Okay, are we ready to move on?
Sure.
Okay, professional development. Cheryl?
Nothing new on that.
Okay. Friends, Laura, this would have been Verna's report, but Laura's going to talk.
So the Friends are doing great. They have 40 members at this point, and they have, I think, 3 businesses now with memberships. They are, checking account is $14,955.66. They have started purchasing CDs, certificates of deposit, at $2,500 each quarter. So they are investing some of their money as well. The bookstore brought in $970 last month. Usually it's around $300. So they are doing very, very well. They are also planning a after-hours event. I think I mentioned it in my Friday report. October 20th. I will be bringing that to the board for approval for after-hours next month once they get this figured out, if it's a go. But it's going to be a homecoming gone wrong murder mystery. And the board will be invited, staff, and of course all the FOL members. So,
That's great.
any questions?
As I said before, once we approve the new bylaws, then we probably we won't have the committees, so we'll have a sign-up sheet for FOL. Okay, for the year. Okay, thank you. Student liaison, our next newsletter comes out September 1st. I'm giving one more push in my president's report, and then we're done. Okay, any questions on that? Sorry, Jay, I didn't consult you. Advocacy.
I've sent you a few things regarding some legislation and some of that stuff that's going on through ALA, so federal and state stuff. And I know Laura has done some personal invitations to our representatives to ask them again, which we've asked in the past, do you want to use our facility for your whatever town halls, your individual meetings, whatever you might want to use them for. So hopefully if we ask enough times, they'll consider
It is
using
summer, so the sessions are probably pretty light.
Yeah.
They should be out in the community now, but
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Any questions, comments? All right, finance.
Okay. The Finance Committee met on August 9th. We went over the capital replacement plan. A lot of changes to the old plan to make it easier to read, I think, easier to follow along on what needs to be done and what needs to be tracked. Top priority of the committee was to get a second independent contractor to take a look at our roof. We had a roof report a couple of months ago, and there were some emergency repairs that needed to be done. And then there was a question about the rest of the life of the roof. So there'll be a second inspection to try to help us nail down exactly what needs to be done in the coming year. After that, we looked at the need to set aside funds in 2024 to cover three things. One was another rooftop HVAC unit, which is estimated to be about $30,000 to $45,000. There's some interior lighting that needs to be fixed or, I guess, replaced. And then we talked about installing an exterior door to the children's garden. Right now, there's a door to go out. They have to go around a long ways, and it was important, I guess, have access directly to the garden. That was estimated to be about $5,000 or $6,000. And then some interior signage and those kinds of things. So we're going to get some cost estimates on all of that and put that together. But as we step back, we looked at, we probably need to set aside in our committed fund probably $400,000 as we did for this year. We probably need to do that for next year as well. Laura did mention, I think you mentioned in our last meeting, Laura, didn't you, that there's a potential for a grant from the state of Michigan that could cover a number of our major capital items. For example, roof and some of those kinds of things. The submission is in
End of August.
End of August.
Mhm.
So, and then we would find out, I think, was it end of September or something, if we would be eligible?
Something, early October.
If I read it right, there's only 60 million available statewide.
We can ask for up to, is it 2.5?
2.5 million.
For capital improvements, it's COVID money. There's some tricky spots in it. I'm not sure, 100% sure we'll get it, but
Yeah.
I mean, you're never 100% sure you'll get it.
You have to apply for it to even
You
be
do have
considered.
to, yeah, and it's quite a process to
And
apply.
there's
It's a
that.
federal grant,
Yeah.
so, but it could cover our HVAC units, which would be very cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Great.
And a couple other things.
The second item we talked about is the budget, which is on page 33. Laura presented the budget draft. The estimated contingency amount is now over $160,000. They really looked at all of the line items, cut back a number of them, increased a few of them, and I think the committee was very pleased with what we saw. We have between now and October to finalize that when we'll vote on it. So it's still in draft.
So then why did we make this an action item tonight?
It's not the fund balance restriction.
A fund balance?
Right, fund balance, not the
So
budget.
do we need to go back?
Well, I thought I'd go through it all and
Okay,
then go
great,
back, yeah.
great.
The fund balance, as I mentioned, we're looking at maintaining 3 to 6 months of operating expenses in our fund. And with the capital items, we thought that we should have $400,000 in the committed fund balance. Laura's also covered already tonight the contract with the external auditor for bid, and then we've already talked about the cleaning services. So the only action item would be to see whether we should approve $400,000 for the committed fund.
Okay, is that a motion?
Discussion?
Questions?
If not, I'll move that we commit $400,000 for this year.
You're fine.
Well,
I move that we set aside $400,000 as committed funds.
Do we have to label what that is for? That's just?
No.
Okay. So
Well,
we're just
all right, I'll
tabling
say
that
for capital asset, purchase or repair. How's that?
I'll
That
second
helps.
it.
You'll second it? Let's do a roll call. Cheryl?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
yes.
I do.
Heather? Heather?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Jan, yes. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Jay. Did you finish the budget update?
Yeah, are there any questions on the budget? there's still time if you have questions or comments. I did note the questions that the board members had in our last meeting, and we did talk about all of them. For example, there was one about having mileage for reimbursement of trustees and some of those kind of questions, and those are all been resolved here.
Thank you. Okay. Heather, evaluations.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for participating in the annual board evaluation. I know sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, but I appreciate everybody digging in and answering each of the questions. You have all received the raw data for both the board evaluation as well as the self-evaluation for each individual trustee. So I guess I will start with, was there any questions on any of that at all? We had a bit of a internet snafu getting the nice charts and stuff that I like to have. Charlotte and I have sort of concluded that it's actually something with job forms, so there wasn't really much we could do about it. I don't know why, when I printed out the assessment of what it looked like, everybody had the same answer for everything. And Jan and I looked at it and we both kind of missed it, and then Jay and I talked about it for a second. And he was like, well, no, did you answer everything?
I didn't.
Well, no, now that you mention it. So anyways, I went through and, just did it kind of in Word format. There are a few areas where it looks like, we need to maybe spend a little bit of time. Some of the state statutes that apply to libraries and where to find them, that was one that jumped out at me. Familiar with the library's policies and where to find them, so maybe we just need to mention, that was another one that kind of jumped out. A lot of the advocacy stuff, not everybody is really comfortable with that area, so that's one of those things where you just have to sort of do that on an individual basis. I mean, I think we've been informed of where to, how to do that. It's just not everybody's comfortable with it, I think. One that would kind of surprise me a little bit is I've been formally introduced to key staff and understand their major job duties. I wasn't aware that not everybody felt that they have done that at this point in time, so that's something I think could be easily resolved. And reviewing the Michigan and ALA library guidelines, again, that's kind of an individual thing, figuring that out. When you move on to the board evaluation, there were a lot of great comments in here. I feel like this turned out really, really well. Most of the suggested areas of improvement that Jan and I put together came actually from this document with a lot of the comments that we had. A couple of the questions that stood out as, maybe needing more training or more time working on stuff. Number 5, our board members are well equipped with an understanding of basic governmental accounting concepts. So I think that there are some members who feel really comfortable in that area, but there are still a number of us who don't. So some of the suggestions were training in that regard, and Cheryl and I have talked about that a little bit in the past. And I've been on the finance committee, been training with Cheryl and Jay with some of those things, and I have found that to be super helpful. So some of those things. Number 9, the role of the board compared to the director's role. That's something we've talked about a little bit already. There's some comments both ways, really, of whether we're not doing enough and also whether we're hyper-managing a little bit. So some training is recommended in that regard. Question number 14, the quality of communication between the director and the board, kind of the same thing. It really kind of went both ways. Some felt that there was too much, some felt that there was not enough. So again, some training, some boundary setting, that kind of stuff there. Number 15, the level of effectiveness of the board's committees. Everybody kind of mentioned that we're restructuring all of that, so that was one that stood out a little bit as well. And then if you look at page 40, those are the areas that the committee is recommending. So, questions, comments?
I guess my question is, these are suggested areas of improvement, so what are the actual recommendations on how do we make these improvements as an entire board? Is there specific training that we need to do? Is there meetings that we need to do? I don't know, but, you know, just to write these down and then not really do anything about it, I don't think is very productive.
Well, I think that's something we can talk about. These are just, you know, comments that came forward.
So can we bring that to another meeting for everybody to come with recommendations or something?
We could. Jan?
Number 2 answers number 1, though, to instill additional training for boundaries.
I see a morning workshop coming out of this.
I do too.
A morning workshop.
Yeah. I'm thinking some of the topics, like we talked about with the finance committee, some very valuable things that Cheryl shared with us that the whole board could use. Do you need 2 hours of it? No. But, you know, 45 minutes.
You did this years ago, remember?
I did.
Yeah.
So just kind of a
It's not a bad idea to revisit some of
Yeah.
that
Kind of
stuff.
doing this as a team,
Yeah.
inviting Laura in it. And,
Sorry, I only have Saturday mornings.
oh my gosh,
Sorry, I'm committed. I'm under
there's
contract.
always Zoom.
I'm under contract.
She works.
I work. I meet families in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that.
So there's training on, you know, some of the financial strategies. There's training on what kind of boundaries.
Well, I was one that kind of rated my advocacy as low. And part of it is, what should I be doing? Should I be trying to engage with the Lions Club or whatever, you know, that sort of thing? And what are some of the ideas you guys are doing that I could leverage? And do we have materials I could take out from the community and help me make a presentation or things I can hand out? And it wouldn't take, you know, an hour or 2 hours, but talking about it would benefit me.
Sure. Could be part of the morning training. Maybe that helps. You know.
I think if we come with some ideas at our next meeting, then maybe we could do,
Okay.
see what
How
the
to implement
recommendations
those
are and
things.
then kind
And
of
then
decide.
you want you and I to get together with the
Okay.
ideas and work out a plan.
Let's do this. If you have any ideas of how to do that plan, why don't you email them to me, and I'll put them all together and bring them to the next
Okay.
board meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Okay. Are you finished? Heather, have you gone through the results? Any other questions? Okay.
No, I just think it was so much better how we did it, and the results came out better, I think, too.
Yeah, they were a lot more clear.
So thank you for working on it.
Okay, communication. We're going to be up in a minute, so.
I do have a comment about your range.
Thing?
The suggested improvements. Please pay attention to my focus areas when I discuss them.
Right?
Very good.
And that will potentially help you in this area.
Wonderful.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Okay, unfinished business. And then we have new business. 2024 to 26 strategic plan vision statement. Shauna, we're going to
All
let you
right.
start.
So at the last board meeting, we determined that we needed a little more information to decide if there was a need to change our vision statement. And now we're at that time where we need to say, yes, we're going to keep this old one, which is The Brandon Township Public Library is the center of community activity and experiences. If we want to rephrase it slightly, or if we want to come up with a brand new one. So this is a thing that you guys would work on as a board along with Laura and myself, and workshop some ideas based on the information that was given to you in the 3 survey reports that you received.
You're looking for a comment?
Yes.
I think it would be helpful to me if we talk about these focus areas and then come back to the vision,
Okay.
because I think these focus areas are telling us what the community is looking for. And that needs to be, our vision needs to tie into that so that we're serving the community.
Mhm.
So I think it would be helpful to me to go over those first.
Okay. Shall we jump to that then?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, please.
All right. So these 4 focus areas were created by the committee, and I prettied up our little worksheet here that we did. So one of the things I did was remind our committee what it is that we're looking for as an overall plan. We need a mission statement, a vision statement, a focus area, and then underneath that focus area are the goals that we will be bringing to the board in the October board meeting upon the approval of these guys at this meeting. So anywho, you guys approved the mission statement. Ooh, check mark. Vision statement on the table still. And then we're getting into the focus areas at this meeting today. So with the information that we received from our community members in the 3 different reports, we came up with these 4 areas. Actually, there's 5 areas that really kind of stood out to our group. So we had a lot of comments and mentions about programs and how important they were to our community. And some of the areas that we need to address are learning more for adults and seniors in the area. Then we get into marketing. There were a lot of comments of things that we already do, and we took that as maybe we need to do a little bit more effort in changing our marketing tactics. Then we got into organizational excellence, and a lot of this is coming from the staff and board survey specifically, showing that we see internally that there are things that we would like to work on together. And we have space and usage in terms of people found it very comfortable, welcoming environment, and that they wish that we had certain things like lighting in the adult area to make it even continue on with a welcoming environment. And then finally, we have partnerships. Although the public did not comment extremely, like I think there was 2 comments out of 504 about the Groveland relationship, it's more important about the staff. And staff were very concerned about this relationship and wanting to work towards a solution after, it's very disheartening for our staff members to have to turn down service to someone because unfortunately their taxes are not paid to our district. So it's a very hard conversation to have with somebody. But so once we found out that these were the key areas that we received the most information on, we put them all together, came up with like nice fancy little titles for them, and then I gave you kind of an overview of what it is that we're trying to accomplish underneath the in the description of those focus areas. So for Learn and Discover, we want to empower the community with lifelong learning initiatives, paving the way for enriched lives and personal development. And Engage and Connect, we want to encourage a community-centric approach in integrating library awareness to a degree that boosts and nurtures meaningful partnerships. Inviting and supportive, we want to provide a welcoming environment that prioritizes accessibility and community vibrancy. And organizational excellence, Staff engage in and benefit from a nurturing setting, provided with essential tools and training, simulating empowerment and role involvement. So, kind of how we put these together is we put partnerships up with marketing, and then that's how we ended up with the 4 different areas. All right, comments, questions?
So the goals are what we would then review later to see if we've met. Is that correct? And how it has, and will we actually be looking at, and I know you and I talked about this before, how it is impacting the community, and how do we do that, kind of?
Right, so the goals will help us build those metrics that will be measurable for us to say, yes, we've done this. So my example that I want to use for you guys
Perfect,
for
yeah.
your improvements is, so I noticed that one of them is to review the Robert's Rules of Order, right? What we could do is build a little mini test where you learn about, you review your Robert's Rules of Order, we create 5 questions, you answer the 5 questions, you get 100% gold star. If you get 3 questions wrong, you guys have to retake the test, you get 100%. However you want to build up that.
I'm scared.
But, so the measurement tactic for that would be that you have all 6 of your board members who have taken the test and received a 3 or higher on your initiated quiz. And that you do that on a biannual, every 2 years. Every 2 years you decide that you want to take that quiz.
Give me another example, like I'm thinking about, under this engage and connect, I assume that's where marketing is.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be the goal and what would be the measurement? Just give me an example of maybe a goal under that.
Okay, so a goal could be, we want to have more people use our consumers report database. And what are the 3 different areas that we're going to change our marketing tactics in order to make that happen? First, we'll put a pop-up on our website. Next, it will be talked about at every program for a month. And the other thing that we could do is maybe we will send out, well, maybe we'll make a video. And then we can track the engagement on each of those items to see which one is going to benefit us and which one is not. There's also another concept I'm looking into called community mapping, where you map out how your community receives the information that they are already getting, and then applying that to however it is. So I have a patron who goes to church, and she tells everybody about my technology classes. And then she calls me to tell me that she told all her friends at church about it. So to me, I want to tell her to be like, hey, you know what? I made sure to tell her I was having pie programs this fall. To just so that I was like, oh, hey, I want to make sure that my pie programs are full. And if she's telling people at church, then perhaps I will have a full registration list. So, we will come up with measurement tactics. We will define what it is that we want to measure and be able to succeed with, essentially.
So you mentioned in, sorry, I don't want to.
It's okay.
You mentioned like in Learn and Discover, more things for adults and seniors. How do we know what those are that they want? You know, we may offer a whole bunch of new programs and nobody comes. So how do we determine what programs would be more successful?
So we already keep a lot of statistics on the age groups and times and the types of programs that we have, right? That's easy to gather. The thing that we could add to that is an evaluation that would be sent out. So actually, we had to do this for a grant that we won last summer. And we have so much feedback from people because after the event was over, it was an automatic email saying, thank you for attending. Would you please take our evaluation? Then they told us the specific questions that we had to answer for the grant. That is something that would be easy for us to replicate again.
So we would look at, say, we've done how many historical programs maybe, and they've had great attendance, so we're going to do more.
Correct.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
one of the reasons why we don't currently do author talks is we get 1 to 3 people that will attend it, but then we have a history talk and we have 80 to 90 people who attend it. And even the Historical Society, I'll be at a Historical Society meeting on Tuesday night, and some of the members are over here. They're like, you can't double book. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then I have people wondering why I'm over there with that here, like, oh, I got perfect tonight.
You know, that's really good, because I don't think in our last strategic plan, we could really measure impact. We checked off a lot of things that we did, but we didn't really measure what kind of impact were they having. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I just wanted to comment that I think we can also expand interviews, right? If you're talking senior programs, go out and actually talk to some seniors and find out what they want. If we don't already know.
Yeah, and then one of the interview places that we went was the Senior Center, and that all the information that they provided in their interviews is definitely something that we use.
Anyone else? Questions? Thank you so much. Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
So,
Yes, we need
To
now,
approve the focus areas,
we
yes.
need a motion.
I move to approve the focus areas for the strategic plan as presented.
Do
I'll
we have a
second.
second? Okay, Jay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank
So
you.
next month, we will work on the vision statement then.
Do you think we need a separate session to do that, like maybe before our regular meeting or something, kind of a workshop?
yeah, because what would it would entail, you guys refreshing your memory about the data, and if you want, that's something we can go through and say, these are the key points, or these are the things that came out of it. And then we would workshop or wordsmith what it is that we wanted to say. Most vision statements are not longer than a sentence, so at most, it would probably take 2 hours. At least would be 30 minutes. It depends on how much homework you did. Like, if you guys reviewed the data and came to the meeting prepared, then we could probably try and shorten it as much as possible. I tried to keep our last strategic planning committee meeting to an hour, and it still ended up being an hour and 40 minutes. So,
Can we come up with ideas and send them to you and Laura? And
yeah,
then
that's,
get
if you
together?
guys want to work more in a virtual environment, I'm happy to help accommodate that.
Well, I mean, and then get together after we've sent you our ideas, or a Zoom meeting, I don't know, there's different options here, what are we?
Well,
I'm open.
we would have to schedule a special meeting,
We would.
right, if the full board is going to be.
Yeah, and it can't be Zoom.
Can't be Zoom.
Yeah, can't be.
Oh,
Zoom.
that's true, it can't be Zoom.
Yeah, I think we need to just do a meeting just about our vision statements that are important.
Okay. Schedule a special meeting then. Makes sense.
In
Do
the
we
meantime,
still,
send our ideas in so that
that's what I'm
final,
thinking, send our ideas in,
you can chew on it before we come.
right.
We're going
And-
to send them to Shauna.
Shauna and Laura,
And Laura.
send them to both Shauna and Laura. And then when you get an idea kind of together, then we'll meet. We'll schedule a meeting and meet. We could make it before the September meeting if, I don't know.
I think we need to, so that we can finalize,
Yeah.
vote on it in September.
So, but how early? What would you suggest?
I mean, since you guys love to do it via email, chew on it, so on and so forth, I think, if you guys could meet 30 minutes before the next meeting, I think 30 minutes should be.
Really? You think so?
No, let's have a special
Yeah, no, I
meeting
think a
before.
special meeting
Yeah.
is a good. That
On
way
a
we don't have to
different-
be.
At a different time?
Yeah, different
Yeah, I
day.
think that's a little,
Because then if we run over, we don't have to worry about it.
Should we,
And just make it a workshop. We won't vote or anything like that.
okay, should we plan a time now, or should we wait until she gets our information?
I think we plan a time now. We gotta have some deadlines.
Okay. Any ideas?
You want to do it on a Tuesday evening, or any other ideas?
Who has restricted times, Susan?
I have,
Well, I have school board meetings on Tuesday.
Oh,
Not every Tuesday, obviously, it's just one a month, so. it just
September
depends.
12th, is that what?
Let me check the calendar, make sure the room's available.
I'm not available the 12th.
What time of evening are we talking about, or what are we talking about here?
Same time as our normal meetings, how's that?
5 o'clock.
5.
I don't have any Tuesdays.
Wednesday?
What about a Wednesday?
Wednesdays are much better.
Okay.
I have all of Wednesdays open.
I'm good with the Wednesday. Are we looking at the
13th?
early September?
September 13th?
Does that give us enough time, Shauna, if we did it the 13th?
We have a program in here, there's one from 3 to 5 and one from 5, or one from 6:30 to 8.
Well, that won't work.
Can we meet in the smaller?
We could meet in a
Meeting room?
smaller room.
Well, there's Dungeons and Dragons is from 3 to 5 in the meeting room. Because my kids are signed up for that.
Could we meet the 13th at 5 o'clock after Dungeons and Dragons?
Could we do 5:30 so I can take
5:30?
them home?
Does that work? September 13th, 5:30, for an hour or so. Does that work for everybody? Okay. What are we calling this meeting?
Vision statement
Vision
workshop.
statement, yeah. Okay, we don't need to vote on this, do we?
I don't think so.
No, it's not a special meeting, it's just a workshop.
Okay. September 13th, 5:30, we will meet to put together a vision statement.
Very cool.
All right.
Thank you, Shauna.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah, your committee has done fabulous work.
Do we need to, do we have a deadline when to get suggestions in by? Or just bring them, or just the day before?
How,
Well, you want to circulate it back out so we see
yeah,
feedback
what
from
do
everybody
you,
before that. So September 4th, perhaps?
Yeah.
Labor Day, well, September 5th?
Yeah, the 5th probably.
September 5th?
So suggestions to Shauna by September 5th
And Laura, yeah.
and more.
If you just want to send to me, they'll be in a document that Laura can see, so you guys don't.
Okay. Is that okay, Laura?
That's fine, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, this is getting us rolling on this vision statement. Perfect. All right. Office scribe we've taken care of. Do you want to say anything else, Laura? We're done? Okay. And now we're at 12.4, which is pending litigation. Everyone is up to date on the information, so at this point, I would like to have somebody make a motion and a second to end litigation.
I move to end litigation.
Second.
All those in favor, or do we need to do this?
We
Okay.
should do a roll call vote.
Roll call,
Just to
yeah.
be sure.
Okay, Cheryl,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Heather? Yes.
Yes.
Susan? Jan, yes. Okay, motion passes. Done. Staff reports.
I have a couple of things to mention in the staff report, if I may. As far as the statistics for summer reading, I thought you might be curious to know what it has been in years past. It was 625 this year. Last year it was 606. The year before that it was 635. And then the numbers really changed. I think the reporting changed. Am I right? Like 2020, well, 2020 was 133, but 2019 it was 323. So I think they changed the way they counted. No? Okay. So from 2019, 323, and this year 625. So
That's awesome.
it's pretty good numbers. I wanted to also mention on Shauna's staff report, she wrote one sentence Manually cleaned and organized the strategic plan data. There's one sentence that covers about 60 hours of work. So, yeah, I just wanted to add a little more weight to that sentence.
Like 4 pages, I'm like.
That is the ultimate clip note.
I read that and I thought, that's it?
Yeah. There should have been way more to that, but just wanted to point that.
I started too.
We're already at page 50, I mean.
Yeah. So, that's about all. TAB program, Rebecca's doing a great job with TAB. They have a city study following.
That's good.
So, and had more people, they had the high school sign up this morning when she was there, and she was like a celebrity.
Oh,
So,
that's
So,
wonderful.
yeah,
Oh,
she had all
so
her regulars, so that's working well.
So good.
Mhm.
Huh. Okay, any other comments? Anybody want to jump in?
Congratulations to Alyssa on her chair of
Yes.
that today's committee. That was awesome. To start that. Just, I'm always so impressed. There's always so many things. Oh, the Purple Heart ceremony. My daughter had a blast doing that, so that was really fun.
That's great.
And I wanted to mention the tattoo parlor too that Rebecca did. My kids came home with tattoos on both arms,
Oh,
up
my
their
God.
legs, on the backs of their necks.
Permanent, right?
They loved it, and the stress balls, my kids loved. There's those little water beads all over my yard because they brought them home and smashed them all. But they enjoyed that a lot, so thank you to the staff for all the wonderful programming. My family loves it.
Anybody else? I just wrote thank you at the top of Jesse's because he said, good to see all the cool work the board does behind the scenes, whatever that means, but thank you.
That is.
Yeah. Anyway, new sign-ups at the farmer's market. That was great. And I think everything else was covered. Darn it. They've already finalized the prizes and drawn the winners. I'm so upset. My granddaughter had one prize she wanted, and she must have put 50 of her name in there. She didn't win. Oh, dear.
It's the person that had one ticket.
I know, probably. And I like that I wanted to congratulate Alyssa, let her know that she was elected chair-elect for the youth committee.
It's awesome.
That is great, representing us. Okay, great. Anything else? Library statistics. Jesse's not here, but he talked about that too. Any comments? Okay, calendar review. In September, we'll have a strategic plan update. Public comment. We've already exhausted you, haven't we, public?
Well, I was just thinking, is that an old calendar note from the previous strategic plan?
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't think
We don't have anything more.
bringing anything to next board meeting, so you shouldn't have to listen to me speak.
Right, but often
We'll
that's
still have
from
to do-
Laura. You usually give a report.
That's, well, no, Shauna usually does. It's for the old strategic plan
Okay.
that is complete.
So do we want to take that off?
It's on your board-approved calendar.
I would leave it on the
Yeah.
calendar.
So we can talk about the vision statement at that point, though.
There we go.
That counts.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to put vision statement. Okay. Public comment, all set. On hold, job descriptions, which I know you've tackled some already. It's great.
They're in progress.
Study room doors. Anything else? And items for next agenda, I have bylaw draft to vote on, vision statement, and we need to start the director eval. Is that next month or
October,
October?
that's October.
October. Okay,
We have the public computer and Wi-Fi policy coming back too.
okay,
And
The contracting.
Laura's going to put that contract list together for us.
okay. Anything else? Okay. Then, I would say we are adjourned at 6:39 PM. Thank you, everybody.